Hey everyone, and welcome to WordStream's next live webinar, Pricing PPC for Profit. This one was designed specifically for agencies just like you all in mind, so we're really excited for it. Before we jump into the content, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone on the line, while you might know us for our amazing blog posts and our content, we really are WordStream Advisor really is a partner for you in terms of growth for your agency. You can manage Facebook, Bing, and Google Ads all from one place. We have great customizable reports. We have a brand new business center that we'll touch on later. And we really are looking forward to talking about this content with you moving forward. And then last but not least, before I pass it off to our presenter, this webinar will be recorded today. So you can expect the slide deck and the recording to your inbox within the next 48 hours. And please, please, please submit your questions, be active on chat. We love hearing from you, and we want this to be as conversational as possible. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it off to Sean Cruz.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending. I am sure we'll start to bring in some stragglers as well. But for those of you who don't know me, if you attended our webinar on selling PPC using data a couple months back, I ran that one, and this was the webinar that was asked about most in terms of the next one. And this is a conversation I have all the time. But a little background on me. I've been in sales. I am in sales here in WordStream. I've been in sales for 12 years. But I've also been in PPC for 11, and that was since I actually started my own small business, Boston Photo Booth Rental, renting photo booths for events and promotions and things of that nature. So I've had a lot of experience working with our customers in 4 years at WordStream, working with customers in general, but also on the other side of the line here, working with or owning a small business and kind of managing to the bottom line and thinking about, understanding the struggles of how difficult it can be to work in a business and work on it. And also, most importantly, the difference between, revenue and profit, which is a big theme whenever I work with an agency here to get them started with WordStream, but also of our conversation today. So I want to echo what Amanda said. I'm in sales. I'm not big at talking at people. So we're going to be asking you guys to provide feedback, join in on the conversation. We're going to be asking you questions. I'm probably also going to be asking you guys for answers to other people's questions, because while I talk with a lot of agencies, I'm not in your shoes. I think I can provide, some value here, but I think, community is a big thing, and that's one thing we try to drive with our agency clients here at WordStream. Quick agenda. So again, this is something that I talk with on most of my demos and with most of my prospects. Pricing PPC, it's a question a lot of people have. We're going to discuss some popular models. We're going to talk about the agency business model, because when we price something, we have to consider, like, what are we pricing it for and what is the desired outcome? We're going to talk about the most common pricing mistakes that I see, and then we're actually going to dive deep on the most common, the most popular pricing models, and I'll give you some examples of how we can tweak this and impact our profitability. All right, so before we do that, before we hop into some data here, we're going to ask something of you guys. So first question is, we want to know who we're talking to. So give us an idea. How many PPC clients do you guys currently have? This is going to help me understand maybe where you guys are at in your life cycle of your PPC revenue stream. A lot of times pricing models change and grow with agencies. And this will help me just kind of understand who might be using different kinds of pricing models. As with a demo, if you guys ever connect with me for a demo, I want to make it about you guys as much as possible today. Give you another second here to kind of chime in on this for us. And Amanda, are we going to show those results? All right, awesome. Hang with us here, guys. We got a few more answers coming in. All right, cool. All right, looks like awesome. It looks like we got a pretty good mix here. This is great. So I'm sure that a lot of you who are on this webinar can help the other people on it too. So I'm really going to be looking to kind of dig in. But as we can see, we got some people starting out, we got some people who've scaled, and we've got, you know, some people in the middle. So this is great. One more question for you guys. Before we get into how, you know, our clients price, which is the data we're about to cover, we want to know how you guys are pricing now. So if you could humor us, one more answer here for us. How are you guys currently pricing your PPC services? All right, and I promise as soon as you guys give us these answers, we are going to hop into the content. We'll give it 1 sec here. All right. All right, here we go. So, interesting. All right, so we've got, looks like the hybrid model is the most common model. We've got some percentages spent, we got some flat fee. This is great. All right, thank you so much, guys. This is really helpful. I'm actually a little surprised that a lot of people are using a hybrid model. I like it. I'm going to talk about some of the things I like about it. But with no further ado, let's kind of get into what you guys came for. So what we're about to walk through is actually it's a survey that we send out to our clients every single year around how are you running this business? You know, what are you doing? How are you pricing? And here's the data that we get. And this is actually this is something you can download from our website. You can ping myself. You can raise your hand during this. We can get this in your hands. There's a lot of good stuff in here. But as we can see, the way that our clients are currently pricing is a little bit different than the people who are on the call here today. Majority of them are using a flat fee. Some are using a percentage of spend, some billable hours, and I'm sure these others are. There's a lot of different ways that agencies price, so we can talk about some options there, but I'm sure there's some good and probably some bad in there. If you are charging a percentage of spend, what do you charge? And we can see here 15 to 20%, most common, 10 to 15%, 20% is, you know, right in the ballpark. And this is also going to depend on the size of account that you're managing typically. The bigger the account, a lot of times the smaller the percentage you'll see. This is something that I think is important to think about. So, you know, we're going to talk about how we can tie this into our pricing models, but are we charging for anything else that we do? And I think, you know, this also comes down to, are we getting a commitment length from our clients? Because I would be a little bit less inclined to charge for things of this if I'm getting a 12-month commitment, if I'm getting a 6-month commitment probably. If I'm not, I may want to think about charging for any of these things, but certainly an account setup fee, right? If I'm building an account from scratch and I am, you know, giving ownership of that account to my client, which is not necessarily something everybody does, but if I am, and I'm not getting a commitment, I certainly want to think about, you know, how much work, how much time is going into that, because whereas the goal is a long-term long-term relationship, if for any reason that client, you know, left within 3 months or so, I could be upside down in the time that I've invested into this and the money that I've been paid. And they're getting a lot of value. They're walking away with a lot of value. So you can see that more than half, you know, almost a third of our clients are charging a setup fee. And for those that are, you know, $1,000 or less is what a lot of people are charging, and some people charge up to $2,500. I think $1,000 to $2,000 is a very reasonable fee for this, but it's going to depend on you guys, and that's really the moral of our story here today. How much time are we putting toward it? All right, so before we start getting into some specifics, some examples, we want to get a sense of you guys. Just give us an idea here. You happy with the way that you're charging for PPC today? I mean, obviously people are here because they're wanting to learn, but I don't believe that is mutually exclusive with being unhappy. So I'm wanting to get a sense of, you know, where people are at. Amanda's using the abacus to total the votes up here. We'll broadcast these here in a second. And guys, feel free to go ahead and chime in with thoughts or comments on anything you're seeing. We're really looking to bring them in as often as we can. How are we doing over there? All right. All right. that's kind of what I figured. It's hard. It's a hard thing to be happy with, and also, you start doing well, you start learning more, you start gaining expertise, and all of a sudden what you were charging isn't what you're worth. So this is not a problem. We're going to talk about what we can do about this today. But here's a chat question for you. Before we get into stuff, those of you who aren't happy with it, why aren't you charging more, or why aren't you happy with it? Go ahead and chat in a few answers for us, and we will shout them out, but also, we can be speaking to that as we're going through this, because the whole moral of this story is, how can we make more of you happy with the way that you're charging, and how can we help you make more money from the work that you're doing? Amanda, go ahead and shout out anything you see that's good that's coming through here.
Yeah, we've got some good. Ooh, we've got great stuff coming in. Sometimes the pricing is scaring prospects away. You know, we're happy for the most part, close a lot of business at higher price points, but we do have smaller prospects, so that struggles with kind of the range of how to price our services. Worrying about the customer bailing, justification for the clients up front. Most having a book of business with smaller clients between $500 and $2,000 in ad spend per month, proving your ROI.
Okay. No, you guys might not be surprised. I've heard all of those before. A lot of those work under an assumption that is paramount to our discussion today. We've got to be, the results have to be there for pricing to work, for the agency model to work. And we're going to kind of get into that, but we need to make sure that we're comfortable and we're confident that we can drive results, both for the client in general, but also with the amount of time that we can allot to this based on what we're charging. So therein lies the rub. Let's talk a little bit about, what we're building this pricing off of, right? We're not starting with our fee and then, working backward off that. We want to work back from our business and think about that. Whenever I work with clients to help them kind of, give them their options and help them kind of steer them in the right direction from a pricing perspective, I always like to really simplify the business model down to this. We have what we charge. We have the hours we invest in that client, and I would encompass everything in that, from building out to managing the client, to managing the account, to reporting. Whatever that is going to determine our hourly rate. For anyone on this call who is a business owner and a sole proprietor, the more you bill your time for, the more money you're making, and the less time you invest in getting the kind of results that are going to make the client happy, the more time you have to bill for other money, for other clients and make more money with. There are a lot of things that could go into this, and we're going to have a general conversation here because I can't talk to you guys. But that's what we do. That's what my team here at WordStream does day in and day out, is we'll connect with you for a conversation around your business and your business model and where there might be efficiencies that can be capitalized on to improve the ultimate end game, that hourly rate. Other things that go into this is like, if we have employees, what are we paying them? Like, what should be the margin between, what we're billing and what we're paying our employees? So for the sake of this conversation, this is what we're basing this off of. In terms of common mistakes that I see, people who do other services charge less for PPC. Let's say that we do websites extremely well, or we're really good at SEO, and our clients trust us and they're happy, and they start asking us to manage their PPC account because they've had bad experiences elsewhere. I need to make sure that I'm pricing this service in a way that I'm not losing money for any time that I spend on that. If I could bill my time out at a higher rate for another service, or my employees' time out at a higher rate, I really need to think about whether PPC is worth my time or if I'm better off going out and pursuing those other services. Now, everybody wants to be a one-stop shop. You don't want to send someone in another direction. And that's what we want to make sure that we address, whatever that reason is. A lot of times people aren't confident in their ability to get results, so they charge less, and they get into this really bad spot where they're losing money, and it's not good for their client either. People spend too much time managing accounts. When we think about that formula, we need to be mindful. We need to have, kind of a stop on the time, or we risk losing money and, making less money, and that's why we're all in business. Don't have a minimum in place. So if I'm using a percentage of spend, maybe I've done some research. I'm not really sure how to price. I've done some research. I've seen this is pretty common. But I'm working with some smaller clients, right? If I'm charging them a percentage of spend, but I don't have a minimum in place that represents what I need to get paid to drive you the kind of results that are going to, get you, achieve your goals, you risk, not charging anywhere near enough, right? And this is a bad situation for the client and for your business. And your client needs you and your business to be healthy, so you can make their business healthy. A lot of people just lump it in. They don't consider it as a standalone, right? Like a lot of people who may have answered other are packaging it together. And that's not fine, but we need to consider it as a standalone when we are coming up with our kind of all-in price. The worst thing we can do is add it as a service and not charge any more, charge $50 more or anything like that. And we're actually going to be making less money from that client just by adding that service. Number one problem that I see is that we don't base pricing off of profitability. And that's the whole point of what we're here today to discuss. So hopefully, we can impact your business here today in this time. How do we do that? How do we charge based off of profitability? Start with that hourly rate. I mentioned when we consider what we want to charge, let's think about our business model. Let's start there. So once we get there, we've kind of determined, okay, we've got an hourly rate that we want to bill at. If I charge $150 an hour for SEO and I'm taking on PPC, I need to get to that hourly rate. Otherwise, I'm selling myself short. If I pay an employee $85 an hour, and I need to figure out that hourly rate that is going to give me the kind of margins that I want and need. All right, so we need to start there. Consider what we're charging for other services right in line. Are we getting a commitment? I mentioned earlier, like that is gonna help me dictate what else I charge for. Right? I totally understand kind of that we're going to drive your results. We don't have any contracts or commitment. We absolutely, if that's the model we're going to follow, by all means, Godspeed. Like this has to work for you guys and your business. But we need to be considering some other stuff, and we really better make sure that the results are going to be there and that we've properly set their expectations. Jumping in here, here's what we're going to discuss now. So some common pricing scenarios. We're going to cover these three for the sake of our conversation today because they're the most popular in my experience. We're going to talk about that flat fee model. We're going to talk about a percentage of spend. We're going to talk about a bit of a hybrid model. All right. Again, guys, go ahead and start chatting in questions at any point if anyone has some, and Amanda can interrupt me. For starters, though, we're going to talk about that flat fee. So I'm going to use hypotheticals here. Again, if you want to have a specific conversation, this is what we're here for. But for the sake of this discussion around flat fees, let's say that I have 4 clients and I charge $500 a month per client. Thinking about that model that we kind of threw up on the screen here, I spend 6 hours a month per client. All right, and this is going to vary based on the agency, the individual, the size of the account, the scope of the work. So, there's no rhyme or reason. It comes with experience, but we need to be thinking about that. Ultimately, what does this leave us? So that's $2,000 in revenue in 24 hours we're investing into the service. So we're getting $83 an hour. All right. A lot of times I'll speak with folks on a demo, and they'll start to talk to me about what they bill their time for, and then we'll start getting into these specifics right here. Okay, well, how much do you charge? How many clients do you have? Okay, great. How many hours are you spending toward this? And we'll quickly find that what's actually happening is not in line with what they value their time at. So what can we do about it in those situations? All right, how can we improve this business model if this is us, or price new clients more appropriately? Let's talk about a few improvements that can be made, and some of this is going to be pretty simple stuff. We could charge more. All right, what would a $200 a month increase per client do? So that is taking that from $500 a month to a $700 a month flat fee. Well, that's going to increase our revenue to $2,800. We're not, we're considering that our time is staying the same, but look what that does to our hourly rate. All right, now we're billing at $117 an hour. Now, it's not always easy to increase pricing. It's a lot harder to do it for existing customers than it is new customers. So we need to be kind of considering these things, and we've got, I've got some theories and we've got some ways to help that we're going to talk about. Here's the other thing that we can do. We can actually spend less time managing the account. Now, if we do that and the results suffer, that's going to kill our business. We're going to have a churn problem. We're going to add a client, lose a client, and 3 years from now, we're going to have the same or worse business that we do now. So again, that assumption, the results are there. But even if we don't increase the revenue at all, if we take that same $2,000 in revenue, and we're able to cut the amount of time that we spend to drive the same results in half, look at what that does to our hourly fee. Right? That goes from $83 an hour to $163. That doubles it. All right? Imagine adding a new client to this business model. Right? Now you've got a really profitable business model where another client means, another 4 hours of $167 an hour, and so on and so forth. How about this? We do both. Look what that does. All right. So if we increase the per month fee to $700, if we cut that amount of time down in half, and again, these are hypotheticals here. I'm not saying that you can, but we're using this for the sake of our conversation. That quadruples the hourly rate that we're charging.
Hey, Sean, someone on the line is wondering if you recommend including performance reporting in the monthly cost or charging it separately.
The way I understand that is, should I consider the amount of time that I spend reporting when I'm thinking about kind of this model? And I would say you could do it either way. If you're going to charge for it separately, you need to think about how much time you're putting just towards the reporting. Or if you're rolling it all into one, which is what I would do personally, but I don't think it's wrong if you did it the other way, you need to consider the amount of time that reporting is taking as well, and anything else. We need to get an understanding and get a sense of how much time we talk to this client and things of that nature as well, because that's all part of it, and that's all your time, and that's all your employees' time. And this is the model, this is the world that we live in. We need to be billing as much as possible for that time. Chat us in and let me know if that didn't answer your question, or if you need clarification. I'll expound. But for right now, I'm going to be selfish, and I'm going to let you guys know how we help in these areas, because these are not always easy things to do. We're going to get to the percentage model. We're going to get to the hybrid model. But for the sake of right now, how can WordStream help you? And you don't necessarily need to do it our way, but how can we help you improve your business model? Because this is what we're here to do. We are an optimization platform that is meant to drive great results, but we're designed to impact your business model. This is time-consuming stuff. It's complicated. So number one is results. All right. In our clients' first 6 months with WordStream, the average client sees an increase in click-through rate in 44% and a 31% increase in conversion rate. This is a huge data set. There's outliers. There's more. There's less. But the point is that we help people get better results by doing more good work. Number two is time savings. This is what we're designed to do. Because we automate the analysis of the data across all your accounts, across AdWords, Bing, Facebook, serve it up to you so you can click your mouse and take action. That's how we've helped agencies, cut 24 hours a month down to 12. And look what that does to your business model. That funds the cost of WordStream in many cases. Expertise or confidence. If anybody who answered no, I'm not happy with my pricing, and the reason for that is because I'm not confident in the kind of results that I could drive, it's going to be hard to make that model successful. We help here by helping you drive better results, but making you more confident through the support and training that we provide. You've seen our website. You're here because you've checked out our content. We curate that based on your experience level. And then we provide a strategic consulting service, which no one else does. No other optimization platform does when necessary, so that you can deliver a product beyond your expertise level. Or if you're paying employees, you can hire a less expensive employee and put them alongside that consulting and that training to deliver results beyond what you're paying them, while coaching them to get better and be worth more than you're paying them while you're at it, if you're more valuable to your business doing other things. And I promise you, you are. The last one is win new business. So it's just a lot easier to increase pricing for new customers than existing customers. So real quick, this is something that nobody else has developed, that we've launched over the summer, that's designed to help you pitch and win new business. We've got tools to help you if someone has an AdWords account, Facebook account, or if they don't. And it's all about delivering a value-packed, white-labeled pitch that's going to help you expedite this process, systemize it, because that's what scales, is systems, and better set expectations. All right. If you want to know more about it, we'll talk to you about it gladly.
Yeah, and while you take a look at these quotes from some of our happiest clients, there was another great question that came in before we move on to the next strategy for pricing. How much transparency is too much when you're talking to a client or a prospect? Would you share the billable hours versus just letting them know your flat fee, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is going to work for different things and different people. If anyone on the webinar has experience here, please go ahead and chat in and answer. I'm going to give you my quick opinion here. To me, when I think about how I'm pricing a service, I also think about what it's relative to for my client and their business, and what the value is. We're driving sales if we're working with an e-commerce client. We're driving leads if we're working with a services client. What's a sale worth, right? If you're working with an attorney whose average case, or let's say a roofer whose average job is $6,000 or $7,000, I don't think it comes down to your time, right? I'm not sure how much time you're putting toward that is. I think we should consider pricing this based off the relative value to their business. So again, results are key to this whole thing. It's not going to work if we're not able to do that. But as long as we are, I think for the sake of how we're pricing it, I think that's for you guys. Your clients don't need to know that. All they need to know is that you're being transparent in terms of what they can expect, and in maybe what you're doing, and that's a big part of our reporting. Some people are transparent with the fact that they use a tool. Some people aren't. For those people who are nervous about, I do talk to some people who are nervous about them finding out that they use WordStream. I always compare it to, like, if I hire a landscaping company, if they show up at my house with the lawnmower I have in my shed, I'm going to assume that they're not a landscaping company and that I hired the wrong person. I would assume if someone was managing my account, they had tools. Otherwise, I could just do it myself. All right. I'm in sales. I think I'm a pretty trustworthy guy, and hopefully the people who talk to me feel that way. But one thing that you can search out for WordStream is independent third-party reviews. These are taken from G2 Crowd. where I'm constantly pointing people, because online reviews are a huge part of my decision-making process. Feel free to go ahead and check us out there. There's a lot of real success stories and a lot of good stuff there. So, if you don't trust me, and you should, but I'd understand, go ahead and get some more information. All right, we're going to move on to percentage of spend, but if someone has a question that comes up around the flat fee or anything we've done before this, don't feel like you missed an opportunity to ask it. And we're also going to set some time aside for some Q&A at the end. Percentage of spend model. So here's where we looked at the data that our clients are are giving us, and 10 to 15 or 20% of the spend is pretty common. So I think it typically is a little more common when you're working with more accounts or with bigger accounts. So for the sake of this argument, we're going to use this model. So let's say we have 6 clients. They spend a combined $20,000 a month. We're charging 20% of spend, and we spend 8 hours a month per client because they're a little bit bigger. They require a little more work. What does this do for us? Like, we have a bigger business. We have 6 clients, right? We're doing more work, but it works out to be the same. So under this model, we have $4,000 in revenue. We're spending 48 hours, and our hourly rate comes down to that $83 an hour. So we see the difference between what we make and what we keep here. All right. How can we affect this model? So you'll see, a lot of the things here are going to be the same. We could charge more. A 5% increase from 20 to 25% would drive our revenue up to $5,000. Even at the same amount of time, that's $104 an hour. It's another $20 an hour that we're billing our time out at. That adds up over the course of months and years. Spend less time managing the accounts. If we cut that time down by a couple hours an account, even without increasing what we make, our hourly rate jumps up to $111 an hour. Increase client spend. All right. There's a few ways we can do this. I'm going to make a statement here. I think some people might be cringing out there. And I think that's why some people don't like to use this model. They don't want their clients to think that they're invested in getting them to spend more money. Like, you may see in some of the suggestions you get in your accounts, wherever you're finding them. An increase of spend, to me, should only come when your client is getting return on their investment. So in fact, when I connect with someone for a demo of WordStream, a lot of times I'll preface it and saying, okay, like, let's see if we can turn investment into WordStream and more revenue and more money for you. And that's really the only reason you should invest in us. I think the same can be said. This is the benefit of having this model, though. If you're driving the kind of results that is driving sales to your client and they're thrilled, you're going to win together here, because if they increase their spend $1,000 a month per client, that brings our hourly fee, without even reducing the amount of time, up to $108 an hour. Because it's not going to add that much time to manage an account that spends $1,000 more typically. Asterisk. What's a great way to do this? How about add a network, right? What if we add Bing, and I'll charge you an extra and you'll spend an extra $500 a month on Bing? Are we doing Facebook? Well, let's do Facebook, and let's add $500 a month there. Quick wins, really easy ways to get to increase the client spend. Don't do it unless there's value, but there will be value if they're not doing those places. Right? If you're not going to be able to prove the ROI, we've got a whole different problem here. But consider this as something that gives you 2 ways to grow your business. I can add more clients, or I can do a great job. I've had people come to me and say, I don't want any more clients. I want to maximize the 10 or 12 clients that I have, because I charge a percentage of spend. The beauty of this is typically you're adding profit for the most part when your clients increase their spend. Doing it all for the sake of this conversation, if we increased our fee, we increased our client spend, reduce the amount of time that we're spending accounts, this jumps to $181 an hour, a drastic improvement. All right, this is hypothetical. These are imaginary situations, but these are things that I'm hoping you guys can think about, and I hope that they help you in some way. Amanda, are any questions coming in? Okay, cool. All right, no problem. We're going to keep going. The last model, and I was really surprised to see that this is the most common model being used by the attendees today. Pleasantly surprised is a bit of a hybrid model. Now, if anyone has looked on our website, you know that we are a software company at heart, but we do have we have what I consider a boutique agency in-house, which manages select client accounts. This is the model we use. We use a hybrid model. It's right on our site. $1,000 flat fee a month plus a percentage of spend of 10%, starting at 10%, and that percent comes down as you spend more. For the sake of this conversation, let's take those 6 clients and $20,000 a month and 8 hours per month that we had with the percentage of spend model where we were charging 20%. In this case, if we charge a flat fee of $500 a month plus 15% of spend, that flat fee is fixed. You know how many clients you have, how much predictable revenue you're going to have. And that is a great way to dedicate that to overhead, the amount of time you're putting in. Whereas that percentage of spend now, it gives you a carrot to go out and drive great results. You're going to, help your clients do more. But with the same clients, spend and time invested using this pricing, with that same model, we're driving $5,000 worth of revenue, which is going to yield a $104 an hour rate. All right. I talked to a client today who's been with us about 6 months, and they were historically a traditional agency, a lot of TV. They've added digital by signing on with WordStream, and they just use our model right off the site. $1,000 flat fee, 10% of spend. They're doing really well. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hey, Sean. So we did have another cool question come through that I think will be applicable to everyone on the line. This person currently charges a setup fee of $1,000. What are your thoughts on charging an additional fixed rate per channel, like Facebook or Bing, or how do you lump in multi-channel approach?
Sure. So what I'm thinking about as far as you guys in your business model is, I think the setup fee, that's for the work you're doing just for the account, right? That is upfront work. That is upfront hours. And typically that's a one-time fee. Managing multiple platforms, if you're going to be managing AdWords and Bing and Facebook and anything else, that's going to take more time. So you should be considering that. Like, we should be considering lumping that in. What you should charge for that is going to roll into that, that formula, right? We need to build back from, okay, like, Facebook, Bing, AdWords, that's going to take me, X amount of hours to do. And we want to try and estimate high. We don't want to undercut ourselves. We need to think back from that hourly rate. I think it definitely takes you more time. And because of that, I think you should definitely be charging something for that. This is the beauty of WordStream. This is why we've done what we've done, because you can manage AdWords, Bing, and Facebook in one workflow. We analyze the data in all those places, pull it into one weekly workflow where you can, click your mouse and make the changes in the appropriate places. And with one click, the changes go there. So that's how, we talk about 24 hours down to 12. That's how that's possible. So whatever we're affecting, whether it's price, whether it's the amount of time we're investing, or both, we need to be considerate of all those different factors.
Thanks, Sean. What about next to setting up an account? How about keyword research? Are you thinking of including that when you talk about this model?
Can the person who asked that chat in how much time they typically spend researching keywords for a particular account? I'm interested to know that. Because if you're spending enough time, then yes, you should be charging for it. In the meantime, one of the things that I see a lot of, and there's plenty of people on this call who will probably rightfully disagree and have many use cases where this isn't the case. But I see a lot of people put in too much time upfront in building out an account. In my view, personal opinion alert here, we don't need a perfect account to start. What we need to do is we need to have a strong foundation that adheres to best practices, that is going to be relevant, that we can expand upon. And this is the model that we follow with WordStream, where we want to be listening. We want to drive data. We want to leverage that data. Once we turn that account on, nobody's got the same data as us. Everybody has the same keyword research tools. Nobody's got that data that we're driving. So that's where we can really separate ourselves. How are people searching for what it is our client does? This bad stuff, we're going to exclude that. These good stuff, that's what we're going to target. If there's enough people searching for a particular concept that has to do with what we do, like price or free estimates or anything like that, that's what we want to go ahead and build on and say, okay, let's target this and let's write a dynamite ad that speaks to that. So little kind of shared experience there. I see a lot of people kind of trying to do too much up front. Whereas if you got the right workflow and you've got the right practices in place after it, it should be a natural part of growing and expanding the account, because they're never done.
Cool. So as far as keyword research goes, they were guessing, or they told us about 2 to 3 hours per account.
Yeah, I would probably build that into my my account setup fee. I think that it's part of setting up an account. To me, if you told me that building out the account took 7 hours, then I would say, yeah, you do 10 hours when you're building out that account. You should consider that. I think that's also a great negotiating point. I charge $1,000, let's say, to build out your account. That if you for some reason you leave, you take that account with you, that's your choice. But if you want to commit for 6 months, I'll waive that initial fee, right? As long as you're priced in a way that you're making that money back over the 6 months. And if you win over 6 months, if you're able to drive the kind of results that hopefully you're confident you can drive, the lifetime value of that client is well beyond that. So it might be a good kind of starting negotiating point and something to come down off of, but also protect yourself. And give your clients some value if they do walk away. Like, they'll get a good account to walk away with, and that's not what we want. But these are all business decisions, and these are all things that we can talk about specifically if you guys would like. All right, cool. We are going to kind of cover a couple more things, then we're going to open up the floor to more questions here, guys. But here's what I want you to take away. So you're not happy with the way that you're pricing, you can charge more to your existing that going into that, and that depends on your relationship with your client. But accounts, find a fix, unlock, take some time. Employees. And that doesn't mean you have to get rid of expensive employees. If you've scaled your agency to a sizable team, if you're managing a lot of those, you don't have to use WordStream to do it. I'd encourage you to take a look at it if it sounds interesting to you, but you can go out and do this on your own. Increase your fee, right? Go out and, let them reach their goals. This is the webinar that we ran. So if anybody hasn't seen PPC services using data, using our new business center, holler at us and single point, we can, much money for you. That's going to drive X amount more leads, which should drive X amount more revenue. And I'm going to charge you a fraction of that. Profitability, 1, always start with profit in mind. 2, there's no right or wrong answer. Lots of different things work for lots of different people. 3, the results have to be there. If that's not the case, find a way, call us, see what we can do. It's hard to have a successful business model without it. Can't always increase prices, but you can impact your profit immediately, and pricing will probably change and grow as you do. All right, so before we get to questions, we just want to give you guys an opportunity to connect you with the team that I'm on here. The team that has specific conversations around our prospects, their business model, where there might be, money and revenue and profit that can be unlocked, how we might be able to put a better model in place. So you guys just go ahead and, let us know if you're interested in having that conversation. if you want to do what we did today, but plug in your numbers and talk to an expert in the industry who, can give you an honest shot about whether, whether you can make things better now, or at least take away what you might have to do to make that better over a certain time frame. Let us know. Accept that offer right now, and we can set up a conversation. We'd love to do it. And if not, we understand. Don't forget about us. A lot of people go and try to do these things themselves, and some succeed. But it's really hard working in a business and stepping out and thinking about the things that we talked about today. And if you're owning a business and you're your most important employee, you're more valuable when you're thinking about these things. So the less time that we can help you spend in those accounts, the better, in my opinion, your business is going to be, your life's going to be. All right. Now we'd like to open up the floor, right? So anything else that has to do with pricing, with anything else that you've thought of because of this, any other topics you'd like to see in the future, now's your chance. Let's go ahead. I've got some time left, and I'd love to make this specific to you guys that have stuck around.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. That was amazing content. So we did have a couple questions roll in while you were covering all this great stuff that I wanted to cover now. One question that I thought was interesting was, we're talking about PPC, we're talking about Google Ads and pay per click. What are your thoughts, or have you ever heard of people charging their services based on the clicks they're generating for their client, like Google does, paying per click or charging per click?
No. I've heard of people marking up, building their costs into those numbers, which is the challenge with that model is reporting. You can't find a lot of good reporting models, and that's due to partnership level agreements a lot of times with Google. I've never heard anyone really just kind of selling clicks. I would say if you're doing that, by all means let us know, because we should have a conversation with it. It doesn't mean that it's bad or that it's wrong. A lot of different things work for a lot of different people. But to me, if I'm just putting myself in the prospect's shoes, what good is a click to me? If now, I've been managing accounts for 11 years. I've seen the kind of clicks that keywords get, right? And depending on our match type strategies and depending on our keyword strategies, clicks can be damaging as much as they are helpful. So if someone came to me with that model, I'd be turned off. But there could be a millionaire out there who runs their business that way. It doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Awesome. We had another one come through. What about charging per conversion or even a percent of sales and commission? Is that a model that you've explored or heard about?
Definitely. So we had a customer event here this week where we bring our WordStream customers in, and this was predominantly agencies, to one, expose them to everybody here so we can learn about them and their day-to-day, but also help us drive the roadmap, give us a greater line of sight into your business and your challenges and where we might be able to help you. And I had a really interesting conversation with a pretty advanced agency who we talked about this webinar. We talked about the kind of common models and struggles that we've all kind of talked about today. And what they do is they do a flat fee plus a percentage of sales, right? So it could be like a revenue target or anything like that. That's pretty advanced. I think it is. I think there's a lot of value to that, and if I'm a customer, I think that I would potentially respond well to that, right? It's like, don't pay me based on what you're spending, pay me based on what you're making. However, as I mentioned, like, pricing will grow as you do. Be careful. there's a lot of, it's a lot like an AdWords strategy. You can have an account that is structured from, with all the best practices, but if one aspect of your strategy is not aligned with the rest, if we've got a bad match type strategy or a bad whatever, it can throw everything out of whack. So if you're going to do that, you really need to make sure that these are established companies with history of revenue. Like he was working with mainly big brands. If you're going to go and pitch that to a small business, are they going to answer the phone? Can they close the sales that you're driving them? If not, that's out of your control, and that can really impact your livelihood, your happiness, right? Whether your business survives, whether you can pay employees who who are putting their livelihood in your hands. I think that there's certainly merit to that, and it's an interesting model. I think you've got to be careful of, you got to be certain of a few things. Call in if you want to talk through it a little more with any of us.
Great. And through all of these conversations you've had with clients and prospects in the past, like, do you have a general idea of the average amount people charge for that flat fee? Was 500 based off what you've heard? Is that common, or what numbers are you actually seeing?
Yeah, I'm interested to go back. Amanda, if you could take a second, look back in the industry study, see if we have a page around what a common flat fee is. It really all depends, guys. I don't think that there is any kind of benchmark. I would say, again, I would say there's a conversation to be had here, because a lot of times when I have these conversations with people, it's never me telling them, right? It's giving pros, cons, benefits, things to watch out for, other people's mistakes, and they're kind of coming to something that works best for their business. At first, you're going to do what works, get what you can get. Once you're, more confident around the kind of results that you can be driving, once you're, more well equipped to have that conversation, like once you get better at managing accounts, you get better at managing clients. Once you get better at managing clients, you get better at managing expectations and pitching your clients. So you should always consider that as you're growing and as you're pitching new business. But again, it's all got to be based off what you got to make. What is that hourly rate that you want to make? And if, again, I'm talking in generalities. If you want to have a specific conversation, this is all I do all day. So just let me know.
Okay, and we've got time for about one more question that I'm kind of going to lump together a few because I think they're all related. But you've got, people are wondering, do you have a minimum spend level suggestion? And we've got some people on here who have accounts that spend under 5,000 or 2,000 per month, and they're wondering if that monthly fee and percentage of spend makes sense there. And then one more was saying, kind of tying it all together, in theory, keeping those two examples in mind, should you always have a profitable package per prospect no matter what their spend is?
Good question, Amanda. Good summation of a few questions. Good questions, audience. So there were a few things there. I'm going to do my best to remember them and answer them. First question was minimum spend. So yeah, it really depends. As you can imagine, you probably expected I would say that. But ultimately, it's really hard to charge enough to put in even 4 hours a month to somebody who is spending $500 a month, wherever that may be. I mean, I think typically more often than not, that's being spent on Facebook, those really small spenders. They can get a little more there. Might not be what's best for their business, and it might be that their average sale is $1,000 and they're not doing themselves justice. They're not committed to this method as a lead generation solution, which means they might not be a good fit for your business. We got to take all these things into account. So I think you got to kind of base it off of what you can get. The numbers that were thrown out, 5,000, 2,000, those are above what I think is, you can drive, not only can you charge enough with that number, you can drive enough data to really optimize an account and really make an impact. If some people I've talked to have successful business models where where their clients are spending $500 a month. But a lot of people do tell me, yeah, they're mom and pop shops, they don't have a big budget, and then I ask them what they do and what a sale is worth, and it's $1,000 or more. Like it comes to setting that expectation. Um, you just got to be careful and you got to be mindful. And if you're working with a lot of those small clients, it's going to be a volume play for you typically. Um, and you've really got to make sure that you're not spending too much time. You can't spend that much time. Otherwise, you're going to be selling yourself short. All right. So think about that.
Great. That was awesome, Sean. Thank you so much. And again, just to reiterate, this webinar was recorded today, and you can expect to see the recording and the slide deck to your email inbox within the next 48 hours. And again, just as you log out of this, you'll be asked to kind of give us some more suggestions on future webinars, and we love your feedback. This webinar was created based on that feedback, so we definitely take it to heart. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you on our next live webinar.
Thank you, everybody. Feel free to reach out with any questions beyond this.